At my baby shower, my sister screamed loudly, "She doesn't even deserve this baby. She stole my life." She knocked over decorations, shoved gifts off tables, and screamed, "I'll call CPS on you, you'll see." I smiled calmly, nodded to my husband, who pulled out court-filed harassment evidence, police bodycam footage, and signed sworn statements from witnesses. As she screamed about revenge, she was handcuffed by waiting officers outside the venue. By the time the cake was served, her mugshot was already circulating online with the caption, "Sister of the Year." Hey, everyone, I'm writing this because I still can't believe what happened. I'm 32 female, living just outside Denver, Colorado. I thought family meant love and support, but my sister showed me the ugliest side of jealousy I ever could have imagined. Here's how it all went down. Growing up, my sister Shannon, 34 female, and I were close in that you fight, but you make up kind of way. At least that's what I thought. Looking back now, maybe I missed the signs. She always wanted to be first to drive, first to date, first to move out, first to get married. I didn't care about being first. I just wanted to live my life at my own pace. Shannon rushed through everything. She married her high school boyfriend at 22. My parents paid for this huge wedding. Country club, 6 bridesmaids, the whole fairy tale. She was glowing that day, and honestly, I was happy for her. But life isn't a fairy tale. He cheated on her 2 years later, and they divorced fast. After that, it seemed like she never really bounced back. Every time we were together after that, there were little digs. Must be nice to take your time and not worry about your biological clock. I bet mom and dad are just waiting for you to pop out a grandkid, so they can forget about my failure. At first, I made excuses for her. She's hurting. She's lonely. Give her time. But things got worse. When I met Danny, everything changed. He's not flashy. He's just a good man. Steady job, loves dogs, calls his mom every Sunday. After 2 years of dating, he proposed at this small lakeside picnic with just the two of us. No big crowd, no show. It was perfect. We announced our engagement at a family dinner. Shannon didn't even fake a smile. She sat there stirring her wine, then left early without saying goodbye. A few weeks later, she texted me late one night. "Hope you're happy. That should have been my life." I ignored it. I thought it was just drunk texting. When we announced we were pregnant a year later, the real nightmare started. She didn't even pretend to be happy this time. No message. No gift. She ghosted. When I bumped into her at the grocery store once, she stared at my belly and muttered, "Some people don't deserve blessings." I started getting anonymous messages online. Things like, "Are you sure you're fit to be a mother? CPS should check your house. Not every baby is born healthy, you know." The accounts had no pictures, but the language was pure Shannon. I knew it was her, Danny, and I took it seriously. We filed police reports. We installed security cameras at home. One night, she even tried to come up to our house. She was drunk, banging on the door, yelling for me to face her. We called the cops. She ran, but they caught her down the street. We didn't press charges that night because, again, I was still stupidly hoping she'd snap out of it. Instead, we filed for a restraining order. We didn't publicize it. We didn't even tell most of our family. We just wanted peace. Then came the baby shower. It was in a little rented hall in Aurora. About 40 people were there, friends, family, my coworkers from the clinic. We kept it casual. Sandwiches, cupcakes, games, little prizes. I wore a flowy pale green dress because nothing else fit comfortably anymore. We had just started opening gifts when the doors slammed open. There was Shannon. She looked wild. Hair sticking out, face flushed, mascara smudged under her eyes. She wasn't holding a gift, just a half-empty Starbucks cup and a scowl. The whole room went dead silent. She stomped up to me, stood maybe 5 feet away, and shouted at the top of her lungs, "SHE doesn't even deserve this baby. She stole my life." Every head turned toward me. I could hear someone's fork clatter to the floor. I stayed seated. My heart was pounding, but my face stayed calm. I kept my hands folded on my lap. Shannon wasn't done. She walked over to the main table, grabbed a huge vase of flowers and threw it. Water, petals, and glass went everywhere. She slammed her arm into the gift table, knocking boxes and bags to the ground. People jumped back, horrified. My friend Megan put her hand over her mouth. My grandma started crying. Then Shannon pointed right at my stomach and shrieked, "I'm calling CPS. You're unfit. They'll take that baby away, you'll see." You could feel the tension snap in the room. I didn't flinch. Instead, I calmly turned to Danny, who had been standing by the wall, silent. He opened a manila envelope we had prepared just in case. Inside were screen-captured texts and online threats, witness statements from neighbors about her harassment, bodycam footage from the night she showed up drunk at our door, a copy of the restraining order. He handed it all to the 2 uniformed police officers who had been waiting outside. We had them there quietly just in case she tried anything. We had warned the venue too. The officers came in without drama, told her she was under arrest for violating the restraining order, harassment, and destruction of property. She fought them, not physically, but verbally. "You're all gonna regret this. She's lying. I'm the victim. You'll be sorry." They handcuffed her and walked her outside. Someone, I think it was my coworker Travis, managed to pull up the police department's site on his phone about an hour later. There it was, her mugshot. Frizzy hair, puffy eyes, sneering mouth. Someone made a joke and passed the phone around. Sister of the Year. I didn't laugh. I just felt empty inside. I cut the cake, this beautiful blue and white 3-tiered thing, with trembling hands. I smiled for the guests. I posed for a few pictures. But inside, something had shifted forever. After the baby shower disaster, you'd think Shannon would finally get the message. You'd think a mugshot and criminal charges would be enough to make someone stop. But no. It got worse. The first sign was small. About 2 weeks after the shower, Danny and I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a printed-out email. Someone had emailed Child Protective Services, claiming we were drug addicts, that our home was unsafe, that Danny had anger problems, that I was unstable. The accusations were insane. Anyone who knew us would laugh. But CPS doesn't ignore tips, even anonymous ones. 2 days later, a woman from CPS knocked on our door. I was 8 months pregnant and had to waddle around the house, showing her everything. The fridge full of food, the tidy nursery, the clean bathrooms, Danny's medical records proving he didn't even drink, much less use drugs. The woman apologized before she left. She said, "We have to follow up, but honestly, it's clear you two are fine." She hinted that they got a lot of malicious tips in cases like ours, family drama. I knew exactly who sent it. I felt sick to my stomach. Then came the fake social media accounts. Someone made a Facebook account pretending to be me, using my real photos, posting nasty comments about other people, local businesses, even posting a confession that I was only having a baby to trap a man. The worst part? A few coworkers and distant friends thought it was real at first. I had to do so much damage control. I had to prove it wasn't me. Show screenshots, get IT to block the IP. Again, we knew who it was. Shannon. My parents finally stepped in. They cut contact with her completely, told her to get help or stay out of their lives. Shannon responded by slashing my parents' car tires in their driveway one night. That night, my dad, who's 65, quiet, church-going, told me on the phone, "Your sister's not sick. She's mean, evil even. And I don't care if she shares our blood. I'm done." It broke his heart, but it had to be said. Meanwhile, her court date for the baby shower incident was getting closer. She refused every offer from her public defender to take a plea deal. She thought she could charm the judge, maybe spin the story that I provoked her. She even tried to contact me. About a month before my due date, I got a thick envelope delivered by courier. Inside was a handwritten letter, 10 pages of pure madness. She ranted about how I took everything from her, how I owed her my life, how she would never stop until I paid. She ended it with, "The devil protects his own. But so do I." We gave the letter to the police. They added it to her case file. The DA decided to charge her with intimidation of a witness, on top of everything else. The stress was killing me. At my 37-week checkup, my blood pressure was sky high. The doctor told me they might have to induce early if it didn't settle. I went home, sat in the nursery, soft gray walls, little stuffed animals lined up, and cried until I couldn't breathe.
It wasn't supposed to be like this.
I was supposed to be nesting, excited, getting ready for the happiest day of my life. Instead, I was checking the locks on every door and window 3 times before bed. 2 weeks later, everything changed. I woke up one night to flashing red and blue lights outside our house. Police were knocking on doors, searching yards. My neighbor's garage door had been kicked in. Another neighbor's car window was smashed. Someone had spray-painted thieves across the side of my house. The security cameras caught it. It was Shannon, wearing a black hoodie, face plain as day, red spray can in hand. She was arrested again that night, this time facing even more serious charges.
Burglary,
Vandalism, stalking, violation of a restraining order, again. The officers told us quietly, she's going away for a long time. But somehow, even from jail, she still tried to get to me. She called mutual friends from jail phones. She wrote letters that the jail intercepted, full of threats. She tried to get other people to harass me online, all while I was 9 months pregnant, ready to pop. I finally gave birth to our baby boy, Miles, on a rainy morning in late March. When I held him in my arms for the first time, I felt this wave of love, so pure it washed away every bit of anger, fear, sadness. At least for a moment. Danny kissed my forehead and whispered, "She can't touch us anymore. She's finished." But I wasn't so sure.
Some people don't let go.
Some people would rather burn their whole life down than admit they lost. And Shannon? She still had matches. For a few months after Miles was born, it was quiet.
Too quiet.
Danny and I tried to settle into life as new parents. Sleepless nights, diaper changes, first smiles, all the normal stuff. I almost let myself believe it was over. But Shannon wasn't done. The first weird thing that happened was a letter from a law office. It said Shannon had filed a civil lawsuit against me for emotional distress and loss of future earnings. Apparently, she claimed that because of the false accusations, which were backed by police reports, mind you, she lost her job at the dental office and couldn't get hired anywhere else. She was suing me for $250,000. I laughed when I first read it, an actual out-loud laugh. But the lawyer we hired told us it wasn't a joke. Civil lawsuits, even insane ones, have to be fought seriously. If we didn't answer it properly, she could win by default. So we had to hire another lawyer.
Pay another retainer.
Spend more money just to defend ourselves against her madness. And during all this, I was trying to breastfeed a colicky newborn who cried for 6 hours straight some nights. It got worse. The day before her court date for the criminal charges, we got a call from our lawyer. He sounded grim. "You're not going to believe this," he said. "She's trying to claim postpartum psychosis." She was trying to argue that she was mentally unstable at the baby shower, that it wasn't her fault, that the charges should be reduced or thrown out because she was mentally compromised. Never mind that she wasn't the one pregnant. Never mind that all the evidence showed her planning and harassing me for months before. She somehow convinced a psychiatrist to write a report about her emotional trauma from her sister stealing her dreams. It was complete crap, but it threw a wrench in everything. Now, the criminal case would drag out for months longer. More hearings, more paperwork, more stress. While all that was happening, Shannon pulled another stunt. She convinced my old college roommate, someone I hadn't talked to in years, to leak private photos of me from college. Nothing scandalous. Just stupid drunk party pictures from when I was 20. She posted them all over Facebook with captions like, "Mother of the Year, folks. Should CPS really trust someone like this?" Most people saw through it immediately. But a few nosy neighbors, the kind who love gossip more than truth, started whispering. One even reported me anonymously again to CPS. They had to come out to my house again. Inspect everything again. Ask invasive questions again. I nearly lost my mind. I sat there on the couch, holding my tiny son, trying to keep my voice calm while answering questions about whether I kept alcohol within reach of minors. Danny stood behind me the whole time, silent but fuming. After they left, I broke down. "I can't live like this," I whispered. We decided right then to escalate. We filed a counter-lawsuit against Shannon. Harassment, defamation, emotional distress. We gave our lawyer everything. Every screenshot, every police report, every CPS visit notice, every vandalism photo, every fake account screenshot. Our lawyer smiled and said, "She wants a war? Let's give her one." Meanwhile, the criminal judge was losing patience with her too. At one hearing, Shannon showed up late, looking smug, acting like it was all a game. The judge slammed her with contempt of court fines. $1,000 for wasting this court's time, he snapped. "And if you disrupt these proceedings again, I'll remand you immediately." You could see Shannon's face crack a little then. For the first time, maybe she realized she wasn't winning. But she still had one last dirty move to play. 2 nights later, our house alarm went off at 2:13 a.m. Danny grabbed the baby, and I grabbed my phone to call 911. The police came fast. They found footprints around our back door. Someone had tried to pry it open with a crowbar. The lock held, but barely. They found a trail of footprints leading back toward the street, and there, abandoned in the bushes, was a sweatshirt. It was Shannon's. The officers shook their heads. "She's going to jail for real this time." They arrested her at her apartment. Found bolt cutters, another crowbar, and spray paint in the back seat of her car. The DA stacked on even more charges: attempted burglary, stalking, criminal mischief. Now, she wasn't facing months in county jail. She was facing years in state prison. But even after all that, even after everything, part of me still couldn't believe it. This was my sister. The girl I used to watch Disney movies with. The girl who braided my hair before school dances. The girl who used to swear she'd be my maid of honor. Now she was someone I was terrified of. The weeks leading up to the trial felt like living in a pressure cooker. Every day, Danny and I waited for the next blow, the next stunt, the next scare. Meanwhile, Shannon was sitting in jail, awaiting trial, because no one would pay her bail. Our lawyer warned us, desperate people do desperate things. Stay alert. He was right. About a month before trial, Danny got a call at work from a block number. It was some man, he said his name was Vic, who claimed he was a friend of Shannon's. He said if we dropped the charges, maybe things would quiet down. If we didn't, well, he couldn't guarantee our house would stay safe. It was a threat. Plain and simple. Danny reported it immediately. The police traced the call back to a prepaid burner phone. When they looked deeper, they found out Shannon had been trying to recruit people from jail to intimidate us, offering to pay them with whatever money she had left in her bank account. The DA filed even more charges against her: solicitation of witness intimidation. That's when it really sank in. She was willing to risk everything, even her own freedom, just to hurt me. At the same time, her civil lawsuit against us wasn't dead yet. She filed more motions from jail, trying to delay the case, trying to drown us in paperwork. Our lawyer handled most of it, but the stress was eating me alive. I lost weight. I had dark circles under my eyes. I snapped at Danny sometimes, even though he was the only person keeping me sane. Once, after putting Miles to bed, I sat alone on the couch and thought, what if she wins? What if this never ends? But then I looked at the baby monitor, at my son's tiny, sleeping body, and knew I had to keep fighting. Finally, the first big court day arrived. The criminal trial. Danny and I sat in the cold courtroom, side by side, with my parents behind us. Shannon was let in, wearing a wrinkled orange jumpsuit, wrists and ankles chained. She didn't look like the girl who used to dream about a perfect life. She looked hollow.
Small. Broken.
But not sorry. Never sorry. She smirked at me as she sat down across the room. That smirk lit a fire inside me. I wasn't scared anymore. I was furious. The trial stretched over 3 tense days. The prosecution laid out everything: the restraining order violations, the threats, the vandalism, the attempted break-in, the intimidation attempts. They showed security footage, read out her insane letters, played voicemails where her voice dripped with hatred. When it was my turn to testify, I stood up there shaking, but I spoke the truth. Every word. I told the jury how my sister stalked me, how she tried to ruin my baby shower, how she tried to destroy my life because she couldn't stand me being happy.
I cried.
I didn't want to, but I did. And I think it mattered, because when I looked over at the jury, they weren't angry at me. They were disgusted with her. Shannon's defense was pathetic. Her public defender argued she was emotionally unwell and needed therapy, not prison. But the DA shut it down hard. This wasn't a one-time breakdown, he said, voice sharp. This was a sustained, calculated campaign of harassment and violence. She chose this. The jury took less than 2 hours to come back.
Guilty.
On all charges. The judge didn't waste time. He sentenced her to 7 years in state prison, no possibility of parole for at least 5. The courtroom was so silent you could hear the bailiff's shoes on the floor. Shannon didn't scream this time. She didn't cry. She just glared at me, pure hate in her eyes, as they led her away. I didn't look away. I stared back until she was gone. But even with her behind bars, the story wasn't over. Not yet. There was still the civil lawsuit. Still the damage she'd done to my family's reputation. Still the scars she left on my heart. And there was one more secret, one more betrayal, that I hadn't uncovered yet. One that would make everything before look small. About 3 weeks after Shannon's sentencing, I got a call from my mom. She sounded shaken. "You need to come over," she said.
Now.
"There's something you need to see." I packed up Miles, called Danny, and drove straight to my parents' house. When I got there, Mom was standing in the living room, holding a big, beat-up cardboard box. "This came for you," she said, handing it over. "No return address. But it's from her." There was a handwritten note taped to the top. The truth. I didn't want to open it. Every instinct told me to burn it and walk away. But I couldn't. I sat down on the floor, ripped the box open, and started pulling things out. Inside were dozens of old journals. Not mine, Shannon's. There were also burned CDs labeled things like 2009, 2013 private. And at the very bottom, a sealed envelope marked, "Only open if you want to know what really happened." I opened one journal at random. The handwriting was sloppy, panicked. Page after page. Shannon talking about me. Obsession. Jealousy. Hatred. But also something else. Something darker. There were pages where she wrote about paying back what was stolen. Not just about my engagement or my baby. Way before that. She claimed I had stolen her first love. A boy from high school. Someone I barely even remembered. Reading her words, it hit me. She had been building this resentment since we were teenagers. Not since Danny. Not since the baby. Since we were kids. She had been waiting for years for the right moment to ruin me. And then I found the envelope. Inside was a short letter. The handwriting was shaky, but clear. "You always had everything. Even when you didn't know you had it, you took it. I should have had Danny. I should have had the friends. I should have had the life. But you stole it.
You always stole it.
You don't deserve it. You never did. I made sure you'd pay. Even if I couldn't be there to see it." I sat there, holding that letter, my hands trembling. My mom sat down next to me, crying silently. Danny arrived a few minutes later. When he read it, his jaw tightened. "She's sick," he said. "Sick in the head. And you're never going to reason with that." We turned everything over to our lawyer. He said the journals and letters would destroy any chance she had of winning the civil lawsuit. We filed to dismiss it immediately. The judge granted it without hesitation.
Case closed.
No money.
No epalerí. No fake excuses.
Shannon had nothing left. But the biggest damage wasn't legal. It was emotional. Because the truth was, my sister had hated me for most of our lives. And I never even knew. I had loved her, defended her, forgiven her. And all along, she was sharpening knives behind my back. In the months after her sentencing, I went through a lot of therapy. I had to. The fear didn't leave overnight. Neither did the anger. But little by little, I reclaimed my peace. I redecorated the nursery. I deleted old photos. I blocked every number, every account connected to her. And every night when I tucked Miles into bed, I whispered to him, "You're safe. You are loved. You are enough." Everything Shannon had tried to take from me, it only made me hold tighter to what mattered. I haven't heard from her since the trial. She's serving her time. And when she gets out, there'll be new restraining orders, new protections, and absolutely no second chances. Not this time. Not ever. 2 years later, Shannon got out early. Good behavior, overcrowded prisons. Whatever the reason, she walked free after barely serving half her sentence. I found out from a news alert. Not from the police. Not from the courts. No warning. No heads up. Just a tiny article online. Local woman released after serving time for harassment and stalking. My stomach dropped when I saw her mugshot again. The same cold eyes. The same twisted smile. She was out. And I knew deep down, she hadn't changed. Danny and I had already moved. Sold our old house. Left Colorado completely. We picked a small town in Wisconsin. Quiet, cold, peaceful. We didn't tell anyone except our closest family. No forwarding address.
No Facebook updates.
No new phone numbers posted. It was like going into hiding. And I hated it. I hated that she still had that kind of power over me. For a while, it worked. Miles grew. He started talking, walking, laughing. Danny and I found new jobs. New friends. I started to breathe again. But even with the new life, there was one thing I couldn't outrun. The part of me that still blamed myself. The truth was, I had made mistakes too. I should have cut Shannon out years earlier. I should have pressed charges that first night she showed up drunk at my door. I should have believed the threats instead of making excuses for her. Because every time I gave her a second chance, she sharpened her knives a little more. I let hope blind me. And in the end, that hope almost cost me everything. One cold January night, about 6 months after her release, I got an email. No subject line. No name. Just a picture. A picture of my house. At night. From across the street. Miles' toys were visible in the yard. The porch light was on. The caption below it read, "Nice place. Cute kid." I called Danny over. We both stared at the screen. Neither of us spoke. Because we knew it was her. It had always been her. We contacted the police. Filed new reports. Installed new cameras. But there wasn't much they could do without catching her in the act. The officer said, "Move again if you can. You're never going to change her." Move again? Uproot our lives again because of her?
No.
Not this time. This time, I fought fire with fire. I hired a private investigator. Not just any PI, an ex-cop who specialized in stalkers. He found her fast. She was living barely 15 miles away. Working under a fake name. Using fake social media profiles. Still obsessed. Still watching. The PI gathered everything. Photos. Emails. Proof she had been near my house. Proof she had sent the picture. And then we took all of it to the police, and this time, the DA filed felony stalking charges. They issued a warrant. She was arrested in a grocery store parking lot, screaming about revenge as they shoved her into the back seat of a cruiser. This time, there was no soft judge. No easy plea deal. The judge hammered her. "You had a second chance, and you used it to terrorize innocent people. I'm sentencing you to the maximum allowable under state law. 8 years in prison. Mandatory psychological treatment. Lifetime restraining order. No early release. No mercy." When the final sentence was read, I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just sat there, holding Danny's hand, feeling the weight of years lift off my shoulders. It was over. Really over. The last time I saw Shannon, they were dragging her away in cuffs. She looked right at me. Her face twisted with hate. Her mouth moved, silent words across the courtroom. I didn't even bother to read her lips.
She was a ghost now. Dead to me. Dead to Danny.
Dead to Miles. Dead to herself. In the end, Shannon lost everything. And I walked away with my family, my life, and the unshakable knowledge that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who will burn you down if you let them. But if you stand up, if you refuse to be their victim, you can survive the fire. And you can build something better from the ashes.